I'm often asked, what books would I recommend to students or to managers, leaders, to learn a little bit more about leadership. And so the list that I've got here, and actually the stacks of some of these books, are really more academic books. These are not your popular leadership books. These are serious books that from leadership scholars, where you really can learn about the depth of leadership and the depth of the area of leadership studies. So I'll start with the big one, which is sort of the Bible almost for leadership scholars, and this is Bernie Bass's Handbook, which is the 4th edition. And the late Bernie Bass, his career actually spanned 7 decades of doing leadership research. This is the most comprehensive treatment of leadership that exists. You can tell, over 1,500 pages. So if you need to find something about leadership, then you go to Bass, and I use that almost every day. I have a couple of textbooks, leadership textbooks. The first one is Peter Northouse, who's written a number of variations on texts. He has, this is the more scholarly one. This one is called Leadership Theory and Practice, 6th edition. And I think this is a good overview, a good textbook version. A little more business-oriented one is this one, Leadership Enhancing the Lessons of Experience, Hughes, Jeanette, and Curfey. And this is also in multiple editions. And this is a little more business-oriented, more for management students. But those are examples of a couple of textbooks. Now, a book of readings that's very popular is Tom Wren's The Leader's Companion, which has excerpts from writings and scholarly work of leaders and leadership scholars throughout history. So there are ancient excerpts from ancient texts in here, right on up to the more modern leadership scholars' work. If you're talking about a real sort of recent research book, then this is the 2nd edition of The Nature of Leadership, edited by David Day and John Antonakis. And this is an edited book and really covers a lot of the cutting-edge areas in leadership, and there's a number of review chapters. So if you're a serious student of leadership and you want something that's very current, then I recommend The Nature of Leadership. A book that I think is very important is Edgar Schein's Organizational Culture and Leadership. And this is very important from an international perspective, because he doesn't just talk about organizational culture, but he also talks about culture in a more general way, and how important to leaders it is to understand the culture in which you're leading. And Schein is a very big name in a lot of areas, including organizational culture, organizational development, and leadership. And so I highly recommend this book. If you're looking for a guidebook or guidebooks on how to practice, how to be a practitioner, how to be a better leader, from a more personal perspective, I really like Bruce Avolio's Leadership Development and Balance. And basically, he starts off, the subtitle is Made Over Born. So what he's referring to here is the fact that much of leadership is made. Only a minority amount of leadership is born. So there are some born characteristics that do predispose people to become more effective leaders, but pretty much leadership is made. And this is a sort of a personal handbook of personal leadership development, and I highly recommend this book. And then finally, so I have to be a little bit self-serving, but Jay Conger and I called together the top experts in each area of leadership. And then this is the assembled book called The Practice of Leadership. And it really represents what are the best practices coming out of the research for scholars. And so it's sort of a who's who of leadership scholars in here. And we asked them all to give very practical advice. So at the end of each chapter, after you read a little more scholarly treatment, then it says, here's 5, 6, 7 things that you can do to make yourself a more effective leader in a particular area, whether it's leading in crisis or leading during an organizational change, or how can you select better leaders or develop better leaders. So I think this is a really good book too. So those are the more scholarly leadership books. More popular leadership books. There's some good ones out there. There's some that probably aren't going to learn much from. But if you really want to study leadership in a serious way, I think here's 8 or 9 books that are really probably in that top 10.